After lunch, Yoon sees his mom and sister off. He wishes them good luck of the journey and asked them not to feel bad about wasting money on shopping. He also asked them to take their time. The young man then walked back into the clinic and slammed the door behind him. Once inside, the guy sat down at the work table and laid out a set of gold needles in front of him. While waiting for the customers, the young man sat back in his chair. It was a rare opportunity to be treated by an immortal doctor like him, so I wondered which of the lucky ones would be able to take advantage of it today. It's been hours. No one ever stopped by the clinic. Coughing and remembering his ridiculous words about the immortal doctor, Yun decided to find something else to do. Taking one golden needle out of the set, the guy remembered that he hadn't practiced in a while and wasn't sure how accurate he was now. Taking the 5 needles in his hand, Ling Yun immediately threw them without looking at the target. All the needles stuck exactly where the guy was aiming. The peak of the second level of body hardening is already a different matter. I stuck needles into the wall with ease. The guy muttered admiringly as he approached the target. At that moment, he felt something strange. An incredible amount of spiritual energy began to accumulate in his brain and body. Lin Yun can't understand what's going on. Why did the immortal energy in his body activate on its own? This feeling is great. It felt as if his spirit and body had become lighter, but at the same time several times stronger. The immortal spiritual energy helped him directly break through to the 3rd level of body hardening. Yoon immediately decides to take this great opportunity to try and break for 4th. Trying to concentrate his energy, the guy concentrates and stands in place and closes his eyes. In this position he stood for several minutes to no avail. Where did the immortal spiritual energy go? Why did he stop feeling it? Immortal spiritual energy. Immortal spiritual energy, where are you? Shouted Lin Yun, standing on one arm. At this moment, the door of the clinic opened and after saying hello, Liu Li walked inside. From such a surprise, Yun standing on one arm was unable to keep his balance and collapsed to the floor. A concerned woman standing at the doorstep asks the fallen guy if he's okay. Rising to his feet, Lin Yun shook off his knees and awkwardly explained to his aunt that he was fine and was just exercising. Liu Li reminded the young man how he had said that this clinic would be able to cure her illness, so she decided to come. With her hand on her shoulder bag, she wondered if she was disturbing him. In turn, Ling Yun asked her not to worry. After all, there were no patients anyway, so he would take care of her right away. Pointing a finger at the corner of the room, he motioned for the woman to go there and lie down on the bunk. When the visitor decided to ask the guy why she should lie down, he explained that he was a doctor of Chinese medicine and therefore could not help her if she did not lie down. As Liu Li lay down, she noticed the young man crouched next to her laying out a set of needles. When she saw this, she trembled with fear. Taking the golden needle in his hand, Ling Yun advised his aunt to close her eyes if she was nervous. Trusting him, the woman closed her eyes, consoling herself that this guy was no ordinary man, and he could definitely cure her. The 3rd level of the body hairpin was indeed different. The spiritual energy had no problem enveloping the needle in his hand. In this way, Lin Yun will not only be able to normalize the fetus, but also improve her aunt's health, so that she almost never gets sick. After half an hour of treatments, the guy asked the woman how she was feeling now. Sitting down on her knees, Liu Li revealed that the agitation has disappeared. Her whole body is so light, as if she had inexhaustible strength. Smiling, Ling Yun added that her child would also be fine now, and she didn't have to worry about it. Hearing those words, the woman looked at the guy in surprise. Great, that's the most important thing for me, Liu Li said gratefully, trying to hold back tears of happiness. Going to her bag, the woman took out an object. Holding out the family heirloom to him, she explains that she doesn't even know how to thank the young man, and so she asks him to accept it. Waving it away, Ling Yun says that he can't accept what is a family heirloom. However, the moment the guy looked at this object, something started happening to his body again. His immortal spiritual energy had once again activated. Taking the brush in his hand, Yun noticed that this time it was the other way around. Looking at this object, it is still a long time before he realizes what is going on. What's wrong with this thing? Why is this brush absorbing his immortal energy? Realizing that this thing had almost completely sucked up his energy, Ling Yun tried to shake it back out, but it was all in vain. No matter how much he tried to take it all back, the brush kept taking it back. Looking at the strangely acting guy, Liu Li can't understand what's happening to him. Suddenly, when the young man grasped the object with both hands, it was over. It finally stopped, bringing the strange contraption up to his face. Yun began to examine it irritably. "I'll deal with you, you bastard, and get my immortal energy back," the guy inwardly shouted, waving that stick in anger. The dumbfounded woman standing nearby at this time asks the young man to forget it if he doesn't like it. She can find another way to repay his kindness. Grasping the brush, Ling Yun awkwardly replies that this thing is to his liking, after which he thanks his visitor. However, he did not tell her that this stick now contains his immortal spiritual energy. No one would be able to take it away from him even if they wanted to very badly. Smiling happily, Liu Li was very happy to hear this from him. After seeing his aunt off, the guy tells her that if she needs help in the future, she can call anytime. Saying goodbye to the young man, the woman promises to remember this. After saying those words, Yun walked back into the clinic and slammed the door behind him. "Let's see what you are," muttered the boy, looking at the mysterious object in his hand. The young man touched his palm with his hand to see if it worked or not. However, the tip appeared to be very sharp. Is this even a brush or a weapon? Luckily, there was some ready-made ink at home to try her out. Either way, it's still not clear what makes this thing so special. It was surprising, but when Ling Yun dipped the tip into the ink, it became incredibly soft. After a while, the guy carefully wrote 2 characters on a white piece of paper. Not bad, it glides so smoothly across the sheet. She can be used to write maskets in the future. This brush is a real treasure, but laying back on the table, the guy doesn't know what to do with his immortal energy that she's absorbed. Abruptly jumping down, Ling Yun realizes that he can no longer remain so passive. He must reach the 4th level of body hardening as soon as possible. This will allow the guy to actively manage his body's spiritual energy and find a way to bring back the immortal spiritual energy. Suddenly, his cell phone rang in his pocket, startling Yun greatly. Who the hell called him out of the blue? Shu Mining. Pulling up to Lin Yun's house, a girl in a red Audi R8 remarks that it was damn hard to drive up here. If she had known, she wouldn't have come in that car and would have gotten another one. Yeah, you might not have come here at all. The guy who came out into the street mockingly objected to her. When Neen called the young man, she told him she was bored and decided to come to the guy's house to have some fun. Then Ling Yun replied that he was at home and very busy, but the girl didn't care and said that she would come and pick him up right away. And unfortunately, there was absolutely no chance of rejection. Walking into the disgruntled guy's home, the uninvited guest remarked that she didn't expect that Yoon's family also had their own clinic, and since they're coworkers, the girl says she can come and help out in the future. When Ling Yun asked her to cut the crap, explaining that his mom was running the place, Ning confidently said that auntie would definitely not refuse. "Because I'm your girlfriend," she shouted joyfully, throwing herself into an embrace with the young man. A dumbfounded Yoon asks Ning not to go overboard with this. After all, he's only pretending to be him. Snuggling up to him, the girl explained that this was why the young man must pretend to be better. Otherwise, Lee King-chu simply wouldn't believe him. But looking up, she noticed Yun's displeased face. "Wow, Ling Yun, you have dimples on your cheeks. Let me touch it," Ning uttered admiringly, reaching her hand towards his face. Tensely averting his gaze, the guy realizes that this stinker has once again found an excuse to take advantage of him. Grabbing her hand, the young man explained that the girl could do it for 100 yuan per touch. As long as enough pays, she can touch as much as she likes. Neen was not deterred by such conditions. On the contrary, she agreed willingly. Taking the phone in her hand, she started transferring money to his bank account. At that moment, a notification arrived on Yoon's phone. Looking at his balance, the guy was taken aback. 10,000 yuan had just been credited to his account. "So, Curtison, can I touch it now?" Nini asked mockingly, leaning toward the young man. Lin Yun is a man of his word, so there's no way he can refuse. She paid too much. In that case, the girl decides not to be ceremonious and proceed with his localized execution. "Boss, we're back," came a familiar voice at the threshold of the clinic's front door. With a grin, the suddenly appearing Tanmin said that he met Auntie and Linju at the mall and decided to give them a ride home, but upon opening the door, he and the pink-haired girl stood dumbfounded at the threshold, looking at what was happening in front of them. Ning sits on the lap of the doomed Ling Yun, as if begging with her gaze to save him. The stunned Tangman, looking at this picture, asked what Xu Mining was doing here. Upon entering the clinic, the mom wanted to know what her son was doing here. Suddenly jumping off the guy, a radiantly happy Ning greets him, introducing herself as Lin Yun's girlfriend. Holy shit, how quickly her face changed. Taking her hand, Kyaokin remarks that Ling Yun is such a child. He didn't even tell them that he has a girlfriend. Since that's the case, she suggests Ning stay for dinner. In all this friendly atmosphere, there stood Tangman, who was as gloomy as night. Xu Mining's boyfriend is Ling Yun. His mind flashed back to the night he had promised brother King Chu that he would find the bastard who had been eyeing Ning and deal with him himself. Petrified by this turn of events, Tangman realized what he had signed up for. However, the blue-haired guy wasn't the only one who was shocked. The sister was also visibly shaken. Does her brother really have a girlfriend? Badao's battered nephew lies in a hospital bed, all bandaged and in a cast. A blonde-haired man stands beside him. Looking at his mangled brother in surprise, he apologizes to him for not being there to let him get hurt. He decides to kick that Ling Yun's ass today to get revenge. Then Guang asks his brother if his uncle knows about his beating. Why didn't he come to him? Dao explains that Uncle Tian has to attend a meeting at the moment and can't leave. He said to let his nephew recover, and they will take care of everything. Having said all this, the blonde-haired man walked out of his brother's room and closed the door behind him. After that, he went to the elevator and called it. Once on another floor of the hospital, Dao walked to another room and exhaled tensely. Once inside, he immediately informed the man in the chamber that he had already visited Guan. Behind this door lay the also beaten Tian Badao. Dao told his uncle that his brother had been seriously injured. He would probably have to spend the next 2 or 3 months in a hospital bed. Angry Badao promised through pain that Ling Yun would answer for everything. Concerned, Dao asked the man not to worry. He had already managed to call all his brothers. At night, they would break the bastard's legs and trash his clinic. However, Tian Badao objected. This Ling Yun is not that easy to deal with. He orders them to wait for this guy to return to the dormitory, and even then to trash the clinic at night and kidnap his mother Kyaokin. Hearing this, Dao can't believe that uncle means exactly what he thought he meant. The man explains that when the time comes, the blonde-haired man will just have to tell Ling Yun that he has Kyaokin. In that case, he simply wouldn't dare to resist. Just beating him up wouldn't be enough. Badao wants this guy in pain, on his knees like a dog with no dignity, begging him. There are many plates of freshly cooked, still hot jiaozi on the table. Pouring food into her boyfriend's bowl, Nine asks him to eat a few more dumplings. The sister sitting next to him also puts jiaozi into the young man's bowl, noting that he must be very hungry. In the same second, the two girls' gazes cross and they look at each other with genuine hatred. Suddenly, a competition begins to see who can put the most dumplings on the plate of a dumbfounded Ling Yun sitting next to him. Is this a new kind of torture? Meanwhile, looking into his bowl, a frustrated Tanman notices that no one is putting any on for him. Here, eat Tanman. Qin spoke caringly, chopsticks pouring jiaozi into his bowl. Thrilled by such attentiveness to himself, the blue-haired boy tearfully thanked his aunt for her kindness. Seeing the children off, the clinic owner thanks them for helping to wash the dishes. It is getting late, so she asks the children to be careful on their way back to school. Taking her boyfriend's hand, Ning tells her aunt not to worry. She's an experienced driver, and on top of that, Ling Yun has already ridden in her car, and nothing happened. Hearing those words, Linju glanced at the couple unhappily. She turns to Tanman and asks permission to ride in his car. The overjoyed blue-haired boy can't believe it's just the two of them, but their conversation is interrupted by a disgruntled Ling Yun walking up to them, telling them to take their time. Starting to sob, a distraught Tanman asks his boss why he's being so cruel to him. Linju wanted to ride in his car for the first time. However, Yoon clarifies that that's not what he's talking about at all. There's something wrong here. At the same instant, a loud stomping sound was heard not far from the clinic. Ling Yun senses a murderous aura nearby. As the sister perplexedly asks her brother what's wrong, he asks her to get into Tanman's car. The second the guy just disappears from their sight. Once near his mom, Lin Yun grabs her shoulder and explains that someone has come to the clinic looking for trouble. The guy asks the woman to hide somewhere. Seeing the boss on the opposite side of the street, Tanman can't believe people can even move that fast. After putting his mom and sister in the car, Yoon slammed the door. A concerned Lin Yu tells her mom that they can't just leave her brother alone. Patting her daughter on the head, the woman explains that Yoon knows what he's doing, and the sister should trust her brother as much as she trusts her mom. An indignant Tanman, sitting behind the wheel, asks his boss why he can't stay too. "Because you'll have to protect my mom and sister," Yun answered him, looking out the car window. Excited, the blue-haired guy says he's got it all figured out and asks his boss to grant it to him. Running up to Yun, his girlfriend admiringly started pelting him with questions, asking about that amazing instantaneous move he had just made. Does this young man really know martial arts? How on earth is he going to deal with this group of people? Could the guy have some sort of hereditary weapon? And who are these people anyway? Looking at her with irritation, Ling Yun realized that this girl had no sense of tact at all. Couldn't she see that he was in a big hurry? Pushing Naini back to her vehicle, the guy asks her to get out of here soon too. She did not disobey him and, getting into the car, immediately drove away. The clinic premises are completely deserted, not a living soul left. After a while, a crowd of armed bandits did indeed come to the front door. The thug tells Brother Dao that the lights inside are on, and the door is wide open, but no one is in the clinic right now. In turn, the leader realizes that these bastards are probably hiding somewhere in the backyard. He suggests that his charges start by trashing the clinic. The excited bandits cheered and some of them immediately ran into the room. Once inside the clinic, they began smashing everything around them, swinging bats and overturning desks and cabinets. It's all Ling Yun's fault. He just messed with the wrong people. At this point, some kid politely asks people to disperse to the sides, making his way through the crowd of thugs left outside. The thing is, he wants to enter the clinic too. Suddenly, the ambo standing next to the leader blocks the guy's path with his hand, asking this idiot where he came from. He'd better get out of here if he doesn't want to die. Looking at him incredulously, the kid explains that this is the first time he's ever seen someone break something, and so he wanted to watch. "Don't you understand, humanly speaking? I told you to get out," shouted the bulky man angrily. But suddenly, Brother Dao standing in front asked the man to let this kid pass. Thanking him, the boy immediately broke free of the bully's grasp and ran into the clinic. Looking perplexedly at the leader, the ambo can't understand why he missed this dude. In turn, Dao recalls that Tian Guang said that Ling Yun was a overweight guy of a young age. So that idiot is Ling Yun. Dao confirmed it again. That's why he let this guy in. That way they can see what Yoon will show them and what he can do. After trashing the entire clinic, the bandits decided that they were done here, and it was time to leave. Glancing at the front door, a man with dark hair asks his companions if they know the guy at the doorstep. In turn, Lin Yun excitedly asks the guests not to leave because they forgot to do one more thing. Dark-haired bandit with a bewildered look at the kid can't understand what he is talking about. As he approaches him, Yoon explains that if they don't finish their work completely, they'll probably get a good beating from the boss. Looking around, the man tries to figure out what else he forgot to destroy in this damn clinic. Without thinking for long, Ling Yun pointed him to the lighted lamp hanging overhead. What the hell does that bastard think he's doing? He comes in here and dares to tell them what to do. He's giving them stupid advice like that. Are you completely brainless, you little brat? How do you think we're going to see without lights? Shouted the infuriated bandit. Oh, so you don't want to do it? Well then, I'll help you out then, Yun muttered, smiling eerily. In the same second, he took out a golden needle from his pocket and brought it up to his face. With one swing of his hand, he hurled the needle at the lamp, thus shattering it and causing a short circuit. Subsequently, the lights in the room went out, and the bandits inside the clinic began to panic. The bully standing outside informs his leader that the lights in the house are out, and asks if he should go in and see what happened. Dao, on the other hand, asks the man to wait a little while. Suddenly, a piercing scream sounds outside the door. At the same moment, a dark-haired man flew out of the clinic, falling next to a surprised Dao. Following him, the rest of the bandits flew out as well, knocking their comrades to the ground. Realizing that things were smelling like kerosene, Dao and the remaining underlings stood back to back, waiting for the high-level boss to come out. "What the hell is going on here? Brother Dao, this brat is coming out," a bulky man standing next to the leader suddenly shouted. Lowering his gaze and epically exiting, Ling Yun appeared in the doorway of the clinic. "You must be the boss of this bunch of losers. So what's your name?" the guy inquired, pointing a finger at Dao. The dumbfounded leader, with fear in his eyes, hopes to the last that the speech is not about him. "Fatty, I'll kill you," the big man suddenly shouted, fisting at Yun, who was maddened by his toughness. At this moment, Dao asked his partner to come back now. This guy is not easy to deal with. However, it was already too late. The smile of the kid standing on the threshold of the clinic made everyone realize that he was quite ready even to kill. In the same second, Lin Yun smashed his fist into the ambalist's chest with a swing. The only thing that the bulky man realized as he flew away from such a crushing attack was that this guy was indeed incredibly strong. When he fell to the ground, he immediately lost consciousness after breaking the sidewalk beneath him. Doomed. Looking at all of this, Dao realizes that his business is incredibly shitty. He's messed with the wrong person this time. "Hey, I asked you a question," angrily yelled at him as Ling Yun came closer, keeping his hands in his pockets. Kneeling down in front of the boy, the man crouches down and tells him that his name is Dao Yun, and he is known as Dao on the street. He admits that they were impulsive today, so he asks the boy to do him a favor and let them go. "Let you go," Yun interjected, standing up in front of him. "Why would I do that?" Bleeding cold sweat from fear, the dumbfounded Dao realizes that if they can't quiet this guy, they'll probably all have to die here today. Something must be done. After a while, the bandits had almost completely rebuilt the clinic, and now they were busy cleaning up, rubbing the furniture with rags to shine and dusting. An excited beaten thug, holding a mop on his shoulder, shouts to his comrades to get moving and make sure everywhere is cleaned up. Bowing to the young man, Dao asks him to give his QR code to pay him 100,000 for the inconvenience. Irritatedly looking at him, Yun can't believe that he would pay him such an amount of money. However, Dao misunderstood this reaction. Wasn't that money enough for him? "I made a mistake. I meant to say 300,000, the man said, raising his head and looking awkwardly at the boy. But when he saw this boy, he noticed that he was yawning as if expressing his displeasure. In fact, nothing of the sort was implied in that yawn. However, Dao didn't realize it. "500,000, yelled the man, yawning in response. 600,000, Ling Yun said in disagreement, deciding to bargain a little with his victim. Looking at his bank account in despair, Dao realizes that 600,000 is his income for 2 whole months. But there's nothing to do. Well, he can still earn it. The main thing now is to keep himself alive. After that, the man immediately transferred the money to the guy's account. Looking at the phone contentedly, Ling Yun remarks that although he had received the money, he still had something left to say. "It's not enough," the young man said suddenly. Reaching out his hand towards Dao, Yun immediately made a couple touches on his body. At the same second, the man collapsed in pain. It felt as if 1,000 knives were stabbing into his body. Standing up from his chair, the boy asks Dao not to worry. After all, it won't kill him, just that from now on, every midnight, he'll feel the pain of hell for half a minute. "I don't care why you trashed my family's clinic, but next time, if you think of causing trouble again, you'll be dead, do you understand?" Ling Yun explained, leaning over to the man squirming in pain. Looking at him fearfully, Dao confirms that he understood everything perfectly. With a disgusted look at the man, Yun advises the man to come back to him in a month if he wants to live. Kicking Dao in the stomach, the guy yelled for him to get his men and get the hell out of here. The Ambo who approached his exhausted leader immediately took him under his arm, helping him up from the ground. Looking at Yun, Dao realizes that this time he was hurt because of those two from the Qian family. After a while, all the bandits left, and Ling Yun was left standing outside the clinic alone with his chair. With a relieved exhale, the guy realizes how lucky he is that Lin Jiu and the others didn't see it. Otherwise, however, he wouldn't have been able to explain "Brother, are you alright?" suddenly heard his sister's concerned voice nearby. "Of course, can't you see?" Lin Yun reassured her, stroking her head. Throwing herself into her boyfriend's arms, Nini swept her arms around him, giving him a great beating from those assholes. "Boss, you've done a hell of a thing. Your moves just dumbfounded me," Tanmin, who had appeared out of nowhere, added admiringly. "Of course, have you forgotten who I am?" laughed Yun, smiling contentedly. But then the guy realized it. Wait a minute, so they saw him take out those thugs. A delighted Neen explained that not only did everyone see it, but she also managed to videotape the whole thing, because she's not so easy to chase away. "What did you just say?" a dumbfounded Lin Yan yelled out. A surprised Linju asks her brother why he's suddenly so strong. Meanwhile, a fascinated Nini wonders how many more secrets Yoon has. Emerging out of nowhere, Tanmin asks his boss to confess that he is actually a martial arts master. Sweating with nerves, Lin Yun can't think of a suitable excuse. "How do I explain it to him? Should he say that he's an alien from another world? But how can you say that? Actually, not too long ago, I accidentally fell down a mountain and stumbled upon a secret martial arts book," the guy suddenly said with a serious face, hoping that such an explanation would fly. A disgruntled Kin, approaching them, reminds her son that she told him to never, ever reveal his power to anyone. Looking at her in surprise, Tanmin asked what kind of power she was referring to. For his part, Yoon also has no idea what it was about or when his mom told him. The woman said that Ling Yun had been unusually strong since childhood and could easily carry hundreds of kilograms. She was worried that his physique would get him into trouble, so she told the guy not to show his strength. Did he really forget? Scratching his forehead awkwardly with his finger, the young man apologized to his mother, explaining that he had seen the bandits trashing their clinic, which had made him angry. The woman understood her son's feelings and that he was doing it for the sake of the family. But he asks him not to be so reckless next time. Taking out her phone, Kin notices that it's getting late and it's time for the guys to head back to the dormitory. A worried Yoon tells his mom that it looks like someone is not happy with their clinic and asks her to come back with them. The woman grinned and reminded him that the son had made such a fuss that no one would dare to come back and debauch the place now. Running up to her mom, Linju explains that she'll be worried about her, but Kin asks her daughter not to worry and promises that everything will be fine. Then the sister decided to ask her brother to try to change their mom's mind. However, Yoon advises her to forget about it. Since mom doesn't want that, they have no choice but to leave. Sitting in Neen's car, the guy ponders why his mom just didn't ask for anything and instead backed him up. And she was too cool about her clinic being trashed. Is it true that his mom is an unusual mortal like Tanmin said? But Yoon clearly doesn't feel anything. Meanwhile, looking at the brooding guy in the seat next to her, Ninj realizes that he's definitely not an ordinary person, in which case she's sure to follow him. At the same time, a tense Tanmin is riding in his car. While Linju stares blankly out the window, the blue-haired guy can't figure out how to be. It was such a simple chance to be alone with her. But what to say in such a situation? Not paying attention to the driver sweating with excitement, Linju thought about something. Turning sharply toward him, the girl asks Tanmin how long her brother and Shu Mining have known each other. The bewildered guy replies that he doesn't know that for sure, but he feels like the two met only a few days ago. I see, Linju muttered, turning her head back and continuing to look out the window. Early evening of the same day, King Shui Middle School. The worried sister asks Yoon if he is sleeping outside again. Guy confirmed, explaining that Tanmin had already rented a house for him. Then don't forget safety since you live alone, Linju told him, smiling charmingly. She then walked over to a plant near the entrance to the school and plucked a single flower from it. Taking it in her hands, she admired it for a while longer. Holding out the flower to Yun, the sister asked him to take it. Let her brother think of her when he looked at it. Accepting the gift, the guy promised to take care of it. Thereafter, he walked over to Nina's car and seated himself in the passenger compartment. Holding the flower in his right hand, Lingyun, do you know what pink rose means in the language of flowers? The girl asked indignantly, glancing unhappily at the young man. She wouldn't say it, but the flower in his hand is a symbol of falling in love, sympathy and admiration. Turning away, Ninga wondered to Yun if he really liked flowers that much. Without taking his eyes off the pink rose, the boy explained that his sister had given it to him, so of course he liked it. All right, the girl sitting next to her quietly muttered, looking out the window indignantly. After that, she suddenly opened the door and jumped out into the street. Not realizing what had gotten into her, Yun asked her to wait. Realizing that the effort was futile, the guy had nothing left but to just stare after her. After a while, Shu Mining walked over to that bush and started picking the best flower to give to her boyfriend, but in the end, she picked almost all of them and gathering the flowers into one huge bouquet, threw it to the surprised Ling Yun. "This is for you from me," shouted the girl, "and if you throw that away, I'll chew you to death," she added, looking into the guy's face and grabbing the seat belt with her hand. Looking at those flowers, Ling Yun can't understand what Ning is so angry about. In that case, he'll have to play along. The guy holds the bouquet against him and remarks that it smells nice. The young man asks the girl not to worry, because he will take care of it. That's better," Nini said contentedly, fixing her hair. At that time, a scream sounded somewhere nearby. Bursting into tears, Tanman can't understand why only the boss gets flowers. He actually wants one too. "That's alright. Then I'll pick my own," said the blue-haired boy, wiping away his tears with his hand. But as he approached the bush, he noticed something beautiful. At the same moment, Tangman, jumping joyfully, started plucking flowers and laughing merrily. "My beloved Tanman, I give you this bouquet of roses. It symbolizes my love for you," shrieked the blue-haired boy, enchanted with himself. "Wow, those flowers smell so good." While Tanman was hugging the bouquet he had picked and saying how happy he was, the classmates standing nearby were watching this one-actor theater with shame. A few hours later, the house rented by Lin Yun. After tidying up his new place of residence, the tired guy sat down on the couch. But this is no time to relax. Now we can start studying the brush. With his current level, it's pretty hard for a guy to do damage with a normal sharp weapon. But will Yuna be able to hurt this brush? We'll have to see how sharp it is. However, just touching his finger, the tip pierced the skin until it bled. Fuck, it hurts. How did it get through the skin so easily? That thing started sucking his blood too. Starting to get nervous, Ling Yun tries to move the brush away from his hand, but it's all in vain. "How do I turn it off?" As he tried to find a way to turn it off, the mysterious object continued to suck his blood. What a strange brush. It can't go on like this, damn it. If it wasn't stopped, the brush would simply suck Lin Yun to death. If a normal person saw the brush suddenly start sucking blood, they would be scared half to death. Only Ling Yun had reached the level of passing through a disaster. He had seen all kinds of demons and monsters. Concerned looking at the brush, the guy realizes that after this has sucked so much blood out of him, the recognition ceremony must be over. Throwing up a brush, he began to run it in space as it did his blood, which meant they had reached final synchronization. That's how it worked out. The subject is now completely under the young man's control. This thing is actually much more incredible than it seems at first glance. And now, finally, Yoon feels a connection to it. The tip of this brush can be soft, or as hard as the guy wants it to be. All you have to do is think about what you need and get good at it. Not bad. This item can be used to draw amulets and engrave formations during normal times, but it can become a powerful weapon when facing an enemy. Haha, great, my Goldie. Now you'll follow me and cultivate. Make sure you recoup the cost to yourself, Ling Yun pronounced, stretching sweetly. But suddenly he discovers that his hand can dance. What is it? Tap dance? Or ballet? At 7 o'clock in the evening a guy went speed swimming in the river with some beautiful girls. At 10 o'clock, the young man was running full speed through the school stadium. As early as 1 o'clock in the morning, he had already lit a fire and cultivated spiritual energy. While sitting by the grass of the 7 luminaries, he continued this until 5 o'clock the next morning. This is it, the peak of the 3rd level of body hardening. And it's time to check out the results of today's workout. Walking to the edge of the shore, Ling Yun stepped on the water with his sneakers. Standing with both feet in the water, the guy concentrated all his spiritual energy in his feet. He then pushed himself off the bottom with his feet and tore toward the opposite shore. Once on the other side, Yun can't believe that he was able to cross the river in an instant. Very good, the physical changes are more significant than he thought. All 6 senses have reached a new level. Although the cultivation speed here is much slower than in the cultivation world, but with every time a guy advances to a new cultivation level on the ground, he gains more strength. And now the young man is certainly confident that he will not make the same mistake when he crosses the disaster again. Since it's almost on, Ling Yun decides to end his training today. After all, he had promised Lin Yu that he would never skip class again. Monday morning, King Shui School. As he walks down the school hallway, Yoon hears other students gossiping behind his back. When they notice him, they say how lucky this guy is. Turning around, the delighted young man tries to figure out why they are all staring at him. Did his charisma improve after reaching the 3rd level? The class is already discussing the recent picture of Lin Yun and Shan Shan that appeared on the school forum. In that picture, it looked like the two were kissing. However, those who were there explained that there was no kissing, but they were hugging each other very gently. The feet of a goddess must be so soft. This guy is clearly a lucky guy. A furious Lin tells her friend that someone has posted a picture of her hugging Lin Yun on the internet. Now the whole school is talking about it. When the girl calmly replied that she had already seen it, the green-haired friend told her not to worry and promised that she would find whoever had posted it. These pictures are done quite well. Looking at her, the goddess remarked. Looking at her friend, Lin can't realize what that just was. What? Has Shan Shan's character changed? Glancing at the door, the green-haired girl noticed Lin Yun's classroom on the doorstep. Just upon entering the office, the guy immediately walked over to Shan Shan. Trying to pretend she doesn't see him, the confused girl stares at the book all the way through. As he walked by, the guy simply wished his girlfriends a good morning. A surprised Lin immediately asked her friend why she was ignoring Ling Yun. In turn, the goddess explained that she was not so close to him to say hello. Moreover, the girl had nothing to do with him. Really? So you won't be jealous if another girl comes to ask Ling Yun out? Lin clarified to her. The calm and confident Shan Shan explained that it was simply not possible. After all, except for his sister, Linju, this guy didn't socialize with any other girls. At this moment, a stranger appears on the doorstep of the classroom, asking the guys if she can talk to Ling Yun. This stranger turned out to be that girl named Lin Mingyan, who was saved by Yun after pulling her out of the river. All the classmates can't believe such a pretty girl showed up at their school. Maybe she's some kind of star. Walking into the classroom, Manhan looked at the girl sitting at the desk. Looking at her, Lin can't believe that she needs Lin Yun. Standing up from behind his desk, the guy called out to the girl, telling her he was here. When they went out into the hallway to talk away from prying ears, all the classmates peeked out from behind the door to overhear their conversation. Handing him the bag, Manhan explained that when she washed his jacket, she found his ID card there. Smiling charmingly, Ling Yun thanked the girl for taking such care. With a confused look, she realized that she had been very wrong about him. That night, she'd thought the guy was just a regular fat guy. But looking at the young man now, she thinks he'd be a real looker if he lost some more weight. Realizing that now is the best time to extort money, Ling Yun asks the girl if she has anything else for him. He saved her life. Wasn't she going to thank him just for that? The boy didn't say anything like that out loud, but held out his hand to her. Grabbing the young man's hand, Menhan thanked him once more, promising that she would never forget his kindness. Yoon, squeezing tears out of his eyes, reminds the girl how she stepped on his glasses that he left on the beach. In his head, however, he realizes that she was wasted that day, so she probably doesn't remember that he wore glasses at all. Cranking up his acting skills to the max, the young man adds that it was his mom's birthday present, and it was his favorite pair of glasses. In turn, Menhin apologizes, saying that she didn't do it on purpose. After all, she was drunk that night and doesn't remember anything at all. Hurry up and give the money by transfer or cash. That was exactly what Lin Yun's concerned look said for him. However, not understanding his innuendo, Manhin explains that she is busy today. Asking for the guy's contact information, she promises to take him to get a new pair of glasses when she's free. When the young man gave her his phone number, The girl immediately left. The classmates watching can't believe that such a star took Lin Yun's phone number. He must be overjoyed. However, this guy doesn't care about that sort of thing. What's wrong with this woman? Yoon doesn't want her to pay him for new glasses. He just wants money for saving her life. At the same time, Lin is wondering from her friend who she thinks this beautiful girl is. Where could Lin Yun have met her? Trying to make an indifferent expression on her face, Shan Chan replies that she doesn't know that. It's just meeting a girl, isn't it? What's there to be proud of? Excuse me. May I ask if Lin Yun is in this class? Suddenly heard the female voice at the door again. Why is there another one here? Has Lin Yun's luck been a little too good lately? I'm here. Why did you want to meet me? The boy asked, walking up to his classroom and seeing the stranger. Approaching the young man, the girl introduced herself as Mujin Fiksu, and she wanted to thank him for saving her grandfather on the pedestrian street. The thing is, she is his granddaughter. With a sly look at Fiksu, Yun realizes that his last attempt to extort money failed because he wasn't ready, but now he will definitely not let this opportunity go to waste. While a classmate is thinking up a plan to become her husband, a friend asks him to forget about it. This beautiful girl drove a Maserati. The cheapest one of these costs 2 million. The green-haired kid dreams of having such a car in the future. Unfortunately for Fiksu, Lin Yun heard the conversation of the gossiping classmates behind him. So this woman has such an expensive car, then it's definitely his client. There are too many people here. Why don't we get in your car and talk in private? The guy suggested to her. What did he just say? Shall we get in the car? Alone. Meanwhile, Fiksu did not oppose him in this and asked the young man to follow her. As Lin Yun walks down the hallway, the other students can't understand why this guy is so different from how they imagine him to be. There is indeed an expensive yellow Maserati in the parking lot at the school. It's a good one, Lin Yun indifferently muttered as he approached her car together with the girl. Good one, shouted the guy longingly with admiration, sitting in the interior of the Maserati and palming the windows with his palms. Turning around to Fiksu, the young man remarked that she had a very nice car. After his words, the disgruntled girl asked Yun if he had seen enough. When the guy explained that it was so beautiful that it could hardly be admired, Fiksu irritably grabbed his tie. The girl once again reminded him that she had come here just to thank the young man for saving her grandfather's life. Well, how could it be otherwise? His life wouldn't have been saved without my help. He was very lucky. Usually people have to pay a lot of money to get my treatment. Yun explained as he continued to look around the car admiringly. Fiksu agrees to pay. Whatever the price is, she will be able to cover it. Then I want you to, the boy started to say, looking at her with a lustful gaze. But Fiksu sitting next to him politely asked the young man not to be under any illusions. In the next second, the power of her all-destroying impact sent the car flying several meters above the ground. Jumping back to the door in fear, Lin Yun asked the girl why she was being so aggressive. I mean, he didn't even say anything. The guy just wants her to pay him 1,000,000 yuan. And this car to go with it? Dream on. Do you even know how much it costs? Fiksu shrieked, angered by such insolence. Disappointedly closing her eyes, Yun realized everything. So her grandfather's life wasn't as valuable as this car. That's sad. The angry girl asks the guy to risk doing it again. Opening the passenger door of the Maserati, the young man added that Fiksu didn't seem to love his grandfather that much. But as soon as Lin Yun decided to leave, the woman grabbed his hand and asked him to wait. What does that mean? Did she really take that cheap bait? The indignant girl explained that her grandfather's life was more important to her than anything else in the world. Here's a check for 1,000,000. Take the car too. After saying that, after getting out of the Maserati and slamming the door behind her, Fiksu adds to make sure Yoon remembers that she paid for saving her grandfather, and now they don't owe each other anything. Deal, take care of yourself, beautiful, Lin Yun shouted after her in a friendly manner. As the driver's seat door slammed shut, the guy looked surprised at the check in his hands. This beauty is very respectful. That old man was very lucky to have a granddaughter. Yun just blurted that out, but he didn't even expect to get a car. Haha. The delighted guy decides to give this car to his sister when he gets home. However, looking at the driver's seat, the young man realized something. He doesn't even know how to operate this thing. How's he supposed to move it out of the school parking lot? After a while, an unknown force lifted the vehicles by the rear of the hull. People who have watched this cannot believe that an ordinary person, much less a high school student, can create something like this. If I had known about this earlier, I would have learned how to drive beforehand, Ling Yun unhappily muttered, sipping iced tea from a straw with one hand and dragging the Maserati to another place with the other. A dumbfounded Lin looked out the window and screamed, informing her friend that Lin Yun had single-handedly lifted the Maserati. Still pretending not to care, Shan Shan notes that this guy has nothing but brute strength. However, the green-haired girl notices that Mujin Fixu has arrived in this car. Did she really give it to Ling Yun? Hearing this, the goddess looked at her friend in surprise, but then she pretended she wasn't interested and it didn't matter. A concerned Lin tells her friend that if she continues to act so arrogant, Lin Yun will be taken away by another girl. Shan Shan replies that she had seen them looking for him herself. These women had obviously only seen him once and didn't know him at all. How could they be in love with him? Actually, the goddess used to say that no one could even come to Yun at all. May I know if Lin Yun is in this class? An unfamiliar male voice came from the doorway. What the hell is going on? Why are guys looking for him too? Li Qingshu, didn't he study at the capital university? What does he want with Ling Yun? Seeing Qingshu, Lin can't believe that such a handsome man came to their school. A classmate at the back of the desk, seeing Lin Yun passing by, told him that someone was looking for the guy. Who are you? Do you owe me money too? Inquired the young man, approaching the stranger. Suddenly, an angry Shu Mining burst through the crowd of disciples. Running out in front of her boyfriend, she irritably asked Li Qingshu what he was doing here. Came to see who the hell Lin Yun is that dared to steal you away from me, the guy explained while adjusting his collar. When the angry girl demanded him to watch his mouth, Qingshu asked Ning why she was always so cold to him. He had refused so many people for her sake. The guy suggests she look back if she doesn't believe him. Pointing a finger behind her back, he reveals to her eyes a bunch of suitors eager to get his hand and heart. Qingshu had never lied to her and always cared. After listening to him, Yun realizes that this is the stalker Ninja was talking about. In that case, he shouldn't stand by either. So you're the one chazzing my girlfriend all the time. I'm warning you to stay away from her, or you'll be admiring the bruises under your eyes, the young man said threateningly, hugging the surprised Nini. Holy shit, what do you mean? Shu Mining is Ling Yun's girlfriend. When did they start dating? Laughing, Qingshu praised the boy for his courage. However, he would not believe in this theater. Ning is not blind. How could she give up on him and choose Yun? Then the girl wondered what would happen if it was really true. After saying that, she suddenly stood up on her toes. What happened next came as a surprise even to the wise Ling Yun. Seeing this, Li Qingshu's face instantly poured despair and anger all at once. Shu Mining hugged her boyfriend and kissed him in front of everyone. Well, Ning was the first to take the initiative. After realizing this, Yun held her tightly against him. They stood like that for a few more seconds without looking away from each other. Lin Yun, you rascal, this is my first kiss. Realized the girl at this moment. He used to cuddle with Cao Shanshan. And now he's making out with Shu Mining. One of the classmates remarked that this guy had dumped the goddess so quickly that it was a pity. What did you say? Growled an unknown monster, sneaking up on her from behind. Turning around, the classmate realized that this was the end of her beautiful and interesting life. The angry Devilis yelled at her, promising the girl to sew her mouth shut right now. Placing a hand on her shoulder, her classmate asked Shan Shan to forgive her friend for saying something unnecessary. In fact, she should have taken her anger out on Ling Yun. Why take it out on her at all? However, her anger was not even close to Li Qingshu's rising anger. Ling Yun, how dare you? I'll kill you, the dumbfounded guy yelled, looking at his enemy with a doomed look. But suddenly all the anger in his eyes was gone. Turning around at the young man, Ninga immediately realized what was going on. This is very bad. With small steps approaching Ling Yun, Juan grabbed his chest with his hand and his face contorted in pain. In the same second, his weak heart stopped. Because of this, the guy immediately fell face down on the floor dead. A worried Yun asked his girlfriend what had happened to him. Did he faint because of his anger? Sitting down next to her, Ning told her that Li Qingshu had a congenital heart defect. It was her fault. The girl didn't expect him to be so shocked. At this moment, A dumbfounded Tanman ran out from the crowd of high school students. A blue-haired guy runs up to Ling Yun and asks him to save Li Qingqiu. This dude has been his best friend since childhood. Suddenly, haughty applause erupted behind them. I didn't think I'd see such an interesting display upon arrival, the familiar man mockingly muttered as he looked at Yun. The man's name is Tugan. After spotting him, Tanman warns the boss to be careful. Tugan hasn't calmed down after that beating at Juanyuan restaurant. The people behind him now belong to the Green Dragon Gang. This gang is made up of a bunch of hooligans who are desperate for a fight. So there's probably not going to be a fight without a fight. The tense Ling Yun doesn't know what they should do in such a case. This is a school. If things take too big a turn, they'll be expelled. Okay, I'll take care of it, the guy said confidently, glaring at the malcontents. Tanman can't believe that the boss wants to settle this all by himself. What about Brother Qingqiu? We can't delay his treatment. Grabbing his friend's hand, Yoon explains that he was just about to save him. He then asked him to stay away because they can't reveal their relationship yet, or else the bets would be forgotten. How can you even think about betting in such a situation? As expected from a boss who always prioritizes making money and cheating people. Taking the blue-haired guy's hand, Ning offers him to leave. He trusts Ling Yun completely. While Tanman holds Shanshan indignant that they left Ling Yun in this situation, the guy himself has already taken out a golden needle, preparing to cure Qingqiu. It was the boss's will, and Tanman trusts him completely. When they stepped back, the Green Dragon Gang with Tugan at the head immediately surrounded Ling Yun, carefully injecting a needle into the injured man. Yo, you're all alone now. What are you gonna do now? Tugan inquired, looking at the boy haughtily. Do what? You'll find out, then you'll come over, Yun muttered, smiling eerily. As soon as the bandits decided to pounce on him, they immediately scattered in different directions from the unseen force. These people couldn't even get close to the guy. Some of them just fell to the floor, and some of them slammed into the wall with all their speed. How is that possible? What just happened? Wiping her eyes, a delighted Lin can't realize what happened. She didn't even have time to look at it. Lin Yun didn't even seem to move, and those guys flew off into the air. Paying no attention to anyone, the young man continued the treatment. Taking out the needle, he realizes that after this action the victim will wake up. At the same instant, Li Qingqiu woke up and opened his eyes. Did he just have a heart attack? Holding his head, the elevated guy is trying to figure out who saved him. It's a bunch of delegates from the Green Dragon Gang. Why are they lying around? Running up to Brother Qingqiu, a worried Tanman asks if he's okay. Also crouching down beside him, Shu Mining apologizes to the guy. She didn't mean to make him angry. Nin, thank you for saving me. I will repay you all my life, Qingqiu shouted gratefully, grabbing the girl's hand. However, a stunned Ning clarified that it wasn't her who saved him, but Ling Yun. Hearing this, Qingqiu was stunned. What did she mean by that? You say you're going to pay me back? The guy coming up behind me asked, catching his eye. Rising to his feet with the help of his friends, Qingqiu can't understand how this is possible. He just doesn't want to believe it. Meanwhile, Yun asked Tanman to hold onto this young man. He needs to lie down for another 20 minutes to recover. At that very second, the two of them pinned Qingqiu to the floor with all their might. The blue-haired guy asked his friend not to resist. It was indeed that Ling Yun had saved him. He had seen it with his own eyes. Ning, on the other hand, added, asking the young man to stay still and obey the doctor. No longer holding back tears, Li Qingqiu realizes in despair that he has been saved by his love rival. What kind of public drama is this? How can he stand in front of Ning now? Get out of the way, came an aggressive and gruff male voice from behind. A large bulky man with bandaged hands and fingers burst through the crowd of high school students. There's another one. He's not like the other attackers, though. Tanman informs the boss that he should be careful with this man. He is Ti Xiaohu, one of the celebrities of the Green Dragon Gang. He has a very strong body and has exceptional talent in all kinds of martial arts. While he was saying this, Ling Yun pushed his blue-haired friend away from him with one hand. In the same second, the fist of an enraged Xiaohu swept through the place where Tangman had just stood with lightning speed. The speed of his punches is quite fast. This Ti Xiaohu is really good at something. You're good, worthy to fight me. The man who clenched his fists shouted contentedly as he prepared to fight. You're okay too. Not like these scum who can only bully others, Yun replied in solidarity, jumping aside. The guy told his opponent that he wasn't going to attack back just yet, so he could show his full strength. Ling Yun, have you lost your mind? Shan Shan shrieked worriedly. His conditions offended Xiaohu. Is this kid really looking down on him? Smirking, Yun picked up on the fact that the man had just been so aggressive. Did he only have enough for one punch? Don't regret it. The enraged Xiaohu yelled, striking at the guy who dodged with difficulty. Looking at this powerful spread, Lin Yun explains to his opponent that using the same attack twice is a sure way to fail. But even such presumptuous remarks did not embarrass the confident opponent. Then how about this? He inquired, at the same second making a sweeping motion with his hand behind his back. Seeing such an intimidating technique, the frightened Lin realized that there was no way Yun could resist such a fast attack. However, contrary to her expectations, the guy still manages to dodge the blow. In turn, Xiaohu doesn't stop attacking, praising his opponent's excellent feint in the heat of battle. When he attempted a knee strike, Lin Yun jumped into the air and pushed off his opponent's leg with one hand, but unfortunately, that was his fatal mistake. Being in the air, the guy was perfectly positioned to be hit. Since Xiaohu's body was positioned in such a way that it was impossible for him to act quickly with his hands, he decided to take advantage of the situation and kick the young man. I guess that's enough, Lin Yun said coldly, grabbing the man's knee. This was actually his plan, and the fact that his opponent tried to attack with his foot played to his advantage. Xiaohu has a unique bone structure and talent that can be developed. It has the potential to cultivate immortality. You're done now, right? Yun inquired, taking his opponent's hand. After this rhetorical question, the guy gave Xiaohu a punch in the chest with all his might, throwing him a few meters away from himself. Facing Tugan, who was lying on the floor, the man accidentally elbowed him in the face. After being hit with such a terrifying force, Tugan immediately fell unconscious. You're really strong, but I won't admit defeat. One more time, Xiaohu persisted, wiping his mouth from the blood. Lin Yun, on the other hand, is not going to deny him such a pleasure, but only on one condition. If I lose, I'll be all yours, but if you lose, you'll leave the Green Dragon Gang and follow me wholeheartedly. At that second, without a second thought, Tu Xiaohu agreed to the boy's terms. If he could defeat him, he would recognize him as the boss. In that case, Lin Yun proposes to proceed to the second round of their exciting battle. However, what the opponent did next was a surprise even for such a gifted fellow. Sprawling around, the distraught opponent grabbed him with his arms wrapped around his entire body. Boy, did you decide to play games like this with me? Ling Yun asked in surprise, wondering how he could get out of such a predicament. At the same moment, the guy rested his elbow on Tu Xiaohu's back, and then with a single leap, he broke free of his grip, jumping out behind his opponent's back. Dumbfounded, the man turned around and realized that things were crappy. With a backward glance, Xiaohu immediately received a powerful kick to the chin with his foot. The man fell to the floor and, hitting his head, seemed to pass out immediately. One more time, Xiaohu suddenly yelled, opening his eyes and trying his best to stay conscious. After this reprimand, he immediately rose to his feet and swung around, instantly striking his fist at his opponent. This guy is really strong in body and spirit. However, it's still not enough to defeat him. After dodging the blow, Lin Yun manages to launch a killing attack, even from an extremely awkward position, right into the face of his still desperate opponent. Xiaohu falls back to the floor again after another missed punch. So, can't you have enough already? Yun said confidently, continuing to stand with his arm outstretched. No way! The furious Tu Xiaohu roared, pounding his fist on the floor with all his might. However, no matter how strong this man was, he wasn't even close to being equal to a cultivator who had reached the third level of body hardening. The guy just walked over and grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. In one move, the cold-blooded Ling Yun lifted a huge opponent, weighing at least 100 kilograms, directly above his head on his outstretched arm. After that, he threw Xiaohu to the opposite side of the corridor with a powerful swing. After flying more than 10 meters across the room, the man crashed into the door with tremendous force. What the hell is this? Had Ling Yun finally defeated that beast? But looking at Xiaohu, the guy realizes that it's too early to talk about it. Apart from that, there is another matter that needs to be resolved right now. A surprised King Chu with golden needles in his chest was still lying on the floor. Yun leaned over to the guy and, kneading his fists, explained that it was time to pull out the needles. A dumbfounded King Chu asks the young man if he is going to do something terrible to him. Maybe, Yun said bloodily, kneading his arm. Jumping back to Ninja out of fear and hugging her, a terrified King Chu asks to be saved. I've already done everything. Ling Yun suddenly spoke out, holding the golden needles taken out from the guy's chest. Afterward, he allows the young man to rise to his feet. After helping him up, Tanmin asked Brother King Chu how he was feeling. He said that he felt as if his whole body was relaxed. When Grandpa Shu had given him acupuncture, it didn't seem to be like that. But seeing Nini standing next to him, he realized what he had said. Scratching the back of his head awkwardly, the young man tells the worried girl that he didn't mean to say anything bad about her grandfather. He will definitely be treated by him in the future. Li Qingchu, I guess you won't have to be treated anymore. Shu Mining suddenly said happily, because your heart disease was completely cured by Ling Yun. What do you mean cured? Even Master Shu couldn't help him with his heart. He had to avoid irritation, strenuous exercise and injury. Tanmin was precisely the person who carefully protected him from all of this. King Chu thought he would have to live like this for the rest of his life, but now he is told that his illness has been cured by Ling Yun. How is that possible? Running up to his savior, the boy asked him to do one more small favor. Hit me hard. Well, you asked for it, Yun replied, not wanting to refuse such a strange request from a persistent patient. After saying those words, without hesitation, he immediately slapped Li Qingzu's face with great force. The blow was so powerful that the guy flew off the ground doing a few graceful somersaults in the air. As the freaking cloud covers the most interesting moment of this frame, King Chu has already managed to land with a thud on the floor. Concerned, Tanmin immediately rushed to the aid of his mangled friend. However, the young man doesn't even pay attention to the unbearable pain in his cheek. Placing his hands on his chest, he realizes that there is indeed nothing wrong with his heart. Now it works like any other human being. This guy can live life to the fullest from now on. Lin Yun. Li Qingchu. Oh, you my life. Gratefully shouted the guy, pushing his annoying friend away from him. Holding his head, Tanmin realizes that it turns out that what the boss said earlier is true. He can even cure a congenital heart defect. That's a lot of money to make. Not only did he subdue Ti Xiaohu, he also cured Li Qingchu's heart disease with acupuncture. Ling Yun must have met people from mysterious clans and gained knowledge from them. He could be said to have been completely reborn, and his future was now limitless.
Pet the cat.